almost didn't make it here. We had a big ice storm in Grassy, and they didn't sand the roads, and my family wouldn't let me come, so I had to beg to get here. My daughter hid my keys from my van, and she said, "You're gonna die, Mom." So I'm here. It's a miracle I'm here, but I'm hoping that by me showing my kids that, like, no matter how hard things are, that you still gotta keep going. And I know I made them mad, but I'm hoping that they'll be fighters, like my family are fighters. And this book that Anna Willow made, I only skimmed through it, and I'm hoping it's not like A Poison Stronger Than Love. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have read that. I don't like that book, and I'm hoping that Anna Willow honored my people and the way that they're supposed to be honored. And I'm hoping that I'll read her book and I'll check out what she said. But I was there when she was writing the. Thank you. Ryan knows I like coffee.
Too sugar.
Yeah. I'm hoping that if you're students here, I don't know how many students are here, but that when you read a book, to not always believe the whole book, but with Anna Willow, when we were doing Blockade, she was right there, and there were times where her husband wouldn't let her be part of our people, but she always trusted us. And she was a non-native woman. She was small, petite person, and she was a very gentle woman. And when we were stopping logging trucks, she'd be kind of on the side, probably taking notes or whatever. But there's logging trucks there, so she'd be there in the cold. And so for me, I'm kind of, because I just came off the highway and just coming in here right away, I wanted to honor the people that helped our people that came from different nationalities, and they came and stood with us in the freezing cold, and they helped us when we felt like giving up. Our outside supporters were some of the people that kept us going, and my relatives are here. Chickadee's back there, and Nunda's there, and Betty, and my niece Chantal, she's an artist over there, and her mom Trish. There's a whole bunch of people. Alan, his baby, and elders the elders sitting back there at the Basanta, and people like that encourage us and help us be strong when things are hard. Another thing I wanted to say is the fight's not over, because Weyerhaeuser is still full of wood, and they're still going strong. Their smokestacks are going, and you go to Trident, and their smokestacks are going like crazy, and so we didn't win. We're still fighting, and this is the 10th anniversary of when we did the blockade, 2002, December 3rd, 2002. And we're going to do the 10-year commemoration in Grassy, and all over North America. People are doing commemorations, and there's going to be one in Winnipeg. Maybe November, right? The end of November?
Could be as soon as you find out when Glenwood House is open.
Yeah, they're going to do a commemoration celebration there. And so it's just how resilient humans can be to fight such a monster as Abitibi and all these industries that destroy the earth, Mother Earth. And we're a small little pocket of people in Ishnabeg. There's 700 of us that live in the community, and maybe 50% of us are strong enough to step out, but then the other 50% are scared, and they're fearful, maybe because of residential schools or just through colonialism, that they have this fear in them. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll say thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions, I'd like to hear questions, and I don't know when the deadline is for everything. When is everything over?
I think we've got lots of time for questions.
Any questions?
I have a question about Dr. Harada. What was his last report, or what was his last meeting here in Canada about? 'Cause I didn't even know he was sick.
Yeah, in fact, he had different problems. Maybe I should mention who Dr. Harada is.
Yeah.
Dr. Masazumi Harada was a mercury poisoning specialist from Japan. One of the original team members in the 1950s that studied Minamata disease, acute mercury poisoning, in Minamata, Japan, in southern Japan, in Kumamoto Prefecture. And he came to visit, I'll have to give you a little history, he came to visit Grassy Narrows in 1975 because he had heard that people were suffering symptoms of mercury poisoning there as well. The mercury poisoning happened when a chloralkali plant was dumping mercury contaminated waste into the Schwabian system, and that got into the food web. The top predator in a food web when it comes to fish are humans, and they ate it for more than 10 years. People in Grassy are being contaminated for more than 10 years. So symptoms of Minamata disease were showing up in Canada. Dr. Harada and his team came in the 70s to check that out, and returned in 2002, 2004, and 2008. The testing that they were doing was the first environmental mercury poisoning examination of a community that was experiencing it in Grassy Narrows and White Dog as it was happening. When they studied in Minamata in the 1950s, it had already happened. So this was world importance. Terrible, terrible thing. And even as scientists, they were activists and scientists at the same time. This wasn't just come in, could we get our research done? No, they were extremely socially conscious about the kinds of support that was necessary to help people in the community, long-term, ongoing support, which any of us would argue is absolutely still necessary, even after clear-cutting damage. It doesn't end the issues and problems that are going on in the community. So, Dr. Harada passed away in June at 77 years old, and he had gone through 3 cancers himself, 2 strokes. Did I answer your question, Chiki? I think I missed it. What else did you ask?
Last report.
What was her last?
His last report, that's right. He sent one of his colleagues to present his final report on the issue, which was data that was collected from 2010, analyzed, a report was made and translated into English and released this year in Toronto, stating that even though the amount of mercury in the environment has significantly decreased since the 1970s, and the dumping of mercury has stopped, the symptoms are still getting worse for some in the community because they are continuing to eat fish, which is the staple of their diet. Imagine saying to someone, well, you can never eat rice again. You can never eat bread again. You can never eat potatoes again. You can never eat, you name it, whatever it is. This is, we're talking about something that's thousands of years old. You know, never touch that again. But you could go to Kenora and get all the crappy food that they did. So, so that was Dr. Rudd's final report. The symptoms are still there, people are still suffering from it, and it is yet another issue for people in Grassy Aerospace.
I have a comment, Sharon, and also a question. There was this, in Suzanne's presentation, and Thor echoed it, there was this distinction between environmental groups and then the more rights-oriented solidarity groups, and it took us, some time as well to do some figuring out of how to navigate really doing a solid solidarity, not just following ways that have been done, figuring out what's right for the community. One group that wasn't mentioned that I think played a key role, and maybe you can echo it, that didn't really fit into that dichotomy at all, is the Christian Peacemaker team. And it wasn't mentioned. I think they have to be mentioned because they did a lot of solid work. And the idea of witnessing, like just bearing witness, first and foremost to prevent violence from the police and the state, but second of all, just to say we are here, and that's it. Just that presence of the outside witness intervenes and interferes with the oppressive relationship and the structure, or at least it tries to, just by making the awareness that you did echo, Suzanne, when you talked about people from like Sweden being aware, and that idea of witnessing. One of the biggest challenges I'd say that from here, has been for us to, and I think more generally in the social world of people who aren't quite activists on Indigenous issues but have a sympathetic leaning, are confused about when how to relate to grassroots people as compared to chief and council. And for us, over the years, and I know that fluctuated, that relationship, and I know always we've been there for the grassroots people, but it's very hard for a lot of people to discern what's what, because some communities you get the opposition coming from everyone. In other communities, it's more from just a group of people. And actually, this isn't the hardest struggle, because for us, it's always been clear who are the allies we're supporting. But in hydro communities, it's incredibly challenging. So I just wondered if Judy could address that as someone on the grassroots side, how we're supposed to figure out and navigate the situation.
Can you put that in plain English?
Okay. Well, in short, over the years, have you found the chief and council to be supportive of the blockade? How has that changed? And how have they been a help, and how have they been in the way?
The current chief, Simon Hobester, he's been really supportive, and he became chief in 2002. So, like the chief before that was Bill Hobester, and he was like 110%. And then that was December 2002, and then 2003, Simon became the chief in March. And when we were doing this, I might have my years mixed up, but I remember Simon, the first place he went was MNR and the OPP before he came to us. But now, 10 years later, like he's been to rallies with us, he's been to protests, and Simon has the longest history of fighting the mercury poisoning in Grassy. And when you talk to him, he's really well worded. Like he's very respectful. But then through the years, we have had our challenges with the chief and council, but that's within the reserve lines. Within the reserve lines is the jurisdiction of the Indian Act Chief and Council. And then where we are with the blockade is off the reserve lines. It's our traditional territory where my mom and my dad roamed the land freely, built buildings freely, and lived through the winter freely. My mom says she doesn't remember as a young woman living in reserve. She said they're always all over the land. They'd have their winter camps, they'd have their summer camps, they'd have their blueberry picking plants, they'd have their what do you call it, wild rice picking areas. So every season they had a place, but it wasn't in reserve. So it's a different way of thinking. If you say like our rights are only within the reserve, they're not. They're stronger when we're off the reserve. We become a sovereign Nishnabeg. But when you're in the reserve, the Indian Act controls our people. So the chief and council, their jurisdiction to make any kind of rules or decisions is within the reserve lines. And I guess through education and all that, you know, like our young people will start figuring things out like that. But the other thing we're fighting is assimilation, where the movement of our people is going into the cities and leaving the reserves, maybe because of poor housing, poor education, and all that. But like my 18-year-old daughter, she said, I feel so happy to be home because I could look out my window and I could see the sunset and I could see the water. So like maybe her generation will turn around, they'll start coming back home. But right now, how would you say, the cities are drawing our people in. Like I think in Winnipeg they say there's 80,000 Anishinaabe or indigenous people that live here. That's lots. And in Grassy there's 700, 800 live in the cities. So there's like a little tiny pocket of us that live in Grassy Narrows, and that's a really small voice compared to the cities. Like Toronto would be like 3 million people. So that's why we go to these big cities, so we can use their voices to speak for us too. So the chief and council, like Simon has signed all our letters for support. We've asked him, we're going to do the River Rally in Toronto. He signed it. Like he saw how do you call it, the importance of the actions we're doing. So all that time, like he's never said, no, I don't want to go there, I don't ever want to help you guys. He hasn't done that. And to me, I guess it'd be like your mayor in the city. Like you go to him and you look for his approval to do stuff.
We gave up on that a few years.
So I guess you have to kind of make your mind go to that level and say, do I look to the mayor to do stuff that I want to do, you know, to help the earth and all that? That's the same with me. We just go ahead and do things, but we also tell them we're going to do this. Kind of like a seesaw. Balance. Not me, but
That's right.
So yeah, governments want to believe that they can just sign agreements with chiefs and councils, and that's it. They've consulted. They talk to, and that's what they want to believe, and that's. I think it's great that you put a fork in that plan.
A major NGO that wanted to show up and support said the same thing. Said the same thing as the corporation, basically. At a meeting that we had, and it was like, well, there's the chief, there's the blockaders. Well, who's in charge here? Who are we talking to? You know that, yeah. They shall go unnamed.